Well, hi
Um,
everyone, and welcome to another fascinating interview series on Club Grubbery. And we really are going international today, John.
Mate, we are, and it's not the first time. We're normally in the US or UK, but yeah, we're great to be around our neck of the woods.
Around our neck of the woods, and that's right in the Southern Hemisphere. We're talking, of course, with someone who's familiar to most of you from New Zealand, Anna McLaughlin from New Zealand Doctors SOS. Great to have you on, Anna. And I know exactly where you're sitting. I haven't been in your house, but I know where your house is, and it's beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, great to have you here. And from Brazil, Samurai John Cage. Welcome to the program, John.
Thank you, Australia, and for supporting our fight for saving our kids here in Brazil. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So, Anna, we want to get an update from you on what's going on in New Zealand, but clearly the draconian measures being taken against children in Brazil, against families of children, it's frightening. It's frightening. And if something like that takes off around the world is going to be an absolute ticking time bomb. But before we go into that situation, Anna, tell us what's been happening in New Zealand because you guys have been doing a mountain of work over there.
Yeah, we are consistently being bombarded by these exposés of truth. It's getting quite it's borderline exciting after a really long drudge through the mud, basically, of being silenced for so long. But we're getting some interesting Official Information Act responses back. We received an official OIA response. I think it's called FOIA over there, Freedom of Information Act. So we just dropped the F, but where it showed that the people who had died from COVID in New Zealand, the vast majority of those people were they were boosted from these vaccines, these so-called vaccines, which I found really interesting. So some people have gone out with that, and we're just getting it analyzed statistically to be able to put it in a per capita, per head of population type of stat for everybody. But it's a massive amount. It's over 75%. So that's really, really big. Yeah. And then with the US aid stuff, it's really, really interesting how we have been discovering since this story has broken that it's quite systemic, the funding from US aid right throughout New Zealand. And that is very, very interesting with a particular university receiving a lot of funding or connections with US aid.
Wow. Wow. So 75% of COVID deaths were people who were boosted.
Approximately so, yep.
Safe and effective, John?
well,
No,
nah,
Safe and effective. Look, we're seeing things last week, Anna, we had three AFL players, not players, but celebrities who have been retired players and a coach. Eldest was 53, the youngest was 42, all dropped dead in one day, three of them. And, that doesn't even raise an eyebrow. It doesn't even raise an eyebrow in the media. So, so, so
Completely
much,
compassionate.
so much to unpack. So how are the Kiwis holding up with all of this?
Doing pretty well. There's a lot of people on social media who are like, we just want to move on from COVID. We just want to be able to kind of get on with our lives. But the problem is that we need to be able to set up structures so that we can, if anything like this ever happens again, we can actually make a stand and say no. So there's a lot of truth that's coming out to be able to empower people because I've noticed over the years so much of our sort of personal sovereignty, I guess, has been taken away from us by messaging in the media, by government organizations. And this truth that's been brought to light this year so far, it's been a wild year and we're only in February. It's being able to sort of encourage and empower people that they have been correct this whole time. So it's a mixture of kind of dismay, but also encouragement.
Yeah, we've got to keep this fight going because it's clear that if this thing has been sinister from the outset, which it appears that it has, then they're not going to stop there. There'll be another one and another one and another one, and we have to be about our wits, don't we, Johnny Lada?
Well, we do, Hoodie, and I think people are a little bit overawed by the amount of data and information and people speaking out in 2025. But look, it's so important to be vigilant and hammer this home. We can't just think, oh, we're over the line now. You know, we've proven this is all bad. It's so important to really press on because if we don't. If we don't make sure that this is the last ever stunt they can pull, we're in real trouble.
And not only that, we've got a situation where we don't know how many, but they are in the tens or even hundreds of thousands. They're in more than the hundreds of thousands of people who are vaccine injured who are not getting support and proper medical help because nobody's prepared to diagnose the problem. So we've got all these people who are effectively dying or having their destiny snuffed out because governments and bureaucracies and big pharma will not admit that this has been a scam right from the beginning. And so we have to forge on. So Anna, before we go to our guest from Brazil, Johnny Cage, how do you two become involved? Because you helped us arrange this interview with John.
Yeah, so I met John at in a conference in Geneva last year where we all spoke outside the United Nations and basically stood up and said this is not going to happen again. And from there, we got discussing the appalling mandates that are existing in Brazil at the moment. And what I found really concerning is that when you look at New Zealand's pandemic preparedness response act or bill that is currently being processed at the moment, the same laws could be enacted in New Zealand. So it really got me concerned because if you allow it in one nation, it can have a flow-on effect in others. And I think we're seeing that with the opposite, with what's happening with countries exiting the WHO at the moment. However, Brazil has these atrocious mandates where they can take your children off you, arrest you, fine you, and force vaccinate these children. And what I really struggle with is the fact that the government seems to have an overarching say on how these parents have to raise their children. And that is not okay, especially in a so-called democratic society.
Wow. So I guess here's where we cross over to you, John. I know we might have some accent issues. Some of our people may struggle to understand some of the things that you're saying, but we get the message. So please tell us, how long have you been involved in this?
Oh, I am. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I start to fight since 21. I did the first, rallies in March in São Paulo city. I started to make, public hearings inside the city council chambers and the state assembly against the vaccine passports. And yeah, here in Brazil, I still keep to fight it because, my brother lives in Europe, my sister also. And I know all the entire world just stopped this craziness of uh, push the vaccine over the people since 22, I guess. I don't know how about Australia, but in 22, the entire world just stopped it. In Brazil, what's happened? In 23, the Minister of Health just decided to add the COVID jab on national immunization program. That's the problem here. National immunization program got all the vaccines for babies and kids. These are usually programs got decades. So now all the states are covering for COVID jabs for 6-month babies to under 5 years old kids to get in the school. But it gets worse. If they don't vaccinate, inoculate this poison over their kids, the public ministry and tutelar council, they started to charge the parents. This charge can get $30,000. I know one mother, they charging $30,000. I know other mothers, they charging $1,000 per day. This is what's happening here in Brazil. So that's why I am here still fighting on the streets, but we got to fight inside the state. That's the reason next week on Tuesday and Thursday, we're gonna provide it to public hearings in the most of, Santa Catarina and Paraná. We got thousands of parents under this pressure. That's why I decided to make this public hearing inside the state assembly in both states. Yeah, it's a craziness. We are in February of 25, right? Why they are doing this over the low risk group? We all know kids and babies are the low risk groups, and it's crazy.
John, there was a lot of protests around the world. What were the protests like in Brazil at the time? Did many people turn out? How were the authorities, the police? What did they do?
Brazil, in my opinion, why this happened here in Brazil? Because Brazil is the protagonist, John, of 2030 agenda, right? This was announced for our Minister of Health Environment in last year in Davos for World Economic Forum on the stage. Both said Brazil is the protagonist of 2030 agenda, the protagonist of immunization of his people, and protagonist of combating the climate change. And right now the president, they are leftists, Lula, they are, support socialism, etc. And that's why the depression is so hard over the parents over here. We got about 94% of kids inoculate. It's crazy, And
94%.
we see 94%. Yeah, yeah. And we have seen, every day, babies, kids, teenagers dying. The quantity of teenagers, youngers, and kids dying. I just sent to Anna almost every day. They are dying with, heart attack, cancer, blood clots, and stroke. Every day we see that. On the schools. Many parents just wake up in the morning and find their kids dead in the bed. This is what's going on here in Brazil. That's why I'm asking for entire world for support Brazilian kids. This fight, because there's no country, did any coercion oppression for kids getting to school like Brazil. And they are charging the parents, and if they don't vaccinate, they could be they could swing the parents for trying to separate the parents from the kids. I know, just want to tell one case. This mother from Rio Grande do Sul state, there is 4 police car went to her house, took her 4 kids. I guess, it's like 2 years, 3 years, 7 years, and 9 years old, and gave 7 vaccine on next day. All these 4 kids got, injuries and harms right now. I never saw this entire world, even China, North Korea, Cuba, Nicaragua, or Venezuela. I didn't see this happen.
All right. So the police forcibly injected the children.
No, it's not police. Police just take the kids inside the house and send it to some, health spot or hospital where they inoculate. And they also, one of these kids, they, went to the school of this kid, and take this kid in the school and send to some place for giving 7 vaccines. This is crazy.
Hoodie, it seems like
Yeah.
these morons have got the scrapbook out from geography when they were at school, Bill Gates and Ted Ross, and they've just gone, ha ha, Brazil. It's the new Africa. It's like they're just experimenting on you guys.
Yeah, yeah. What's incredible? They start to inoculate the Pfizer baby in the beginning. So last year, I knew, because we have access for many levels of governments And I knew they approved Moderna. Can you believe that? Moderna is banned from the entire world. And they started to inoculate the kids with Moderna, vaccine over the kids. And now they are going back to vaccine with Pfizer, but we all know they have no, trials for prove the safe, effective. They are safe and effective. But yeah, that's why we are here fighting here. So thank you very much. I really need support. The entire world spread this, what's going on here in Brazil. And I really believe the international pressure over Brazil can really, really help this situation here. Thank you very much, Australia. Thank you.
So it's really interesting here when you listen to that case, because I've read through the documents that John sent through from the Child Protective Services. And what they say in that document is urgency is evident as the child's rights cannot wait for the judicial process, and vaccination must be carried out to prevent irreparable harm. However, these guys have no long-term data to say that their irreparable harm will be happening if they don't vaccinate. But there is very, very strong evidence to show that the government, by force vaccinating these children, are creating irreparable harm. And that's really concerning.
Yeah, and I did a public hearing in Federal Senate in February of 24. In November of 23, I did other public hearing in Federal Deputy Chambers. And in that time, the Federal Deputy Bia Kicis invited the Minister of Health and the Director of National Immunization Program for be on this public hearing, right? So they made a lot of questions and asking for why they are doing this, and Brazil is the only country doing this, and they just lied to the people, on public hearing. No, we got other countries in the world doing this. The U.S. is approved on national program of immunization, even Japan. We all know that, but the parents, they don't make this pressure over the parents. They don't ask for getting the school. So they lie all the time. The media here in Brazil is totally socialist. You all know about this, what's going on here in Brazil, And yeah, in the Supreme Court in Brazil, the same day of Trump election, they made the special votation section, and they decided to keep this mandate for babies and kids on the school. So in the federal level, we cannot do nothing anymore because the president of the Senate, the president of Federal Deputy Chambers, they will never confront the Supreme Court. We got actually as a federal deputy, she just trying to put a law against this creation and remove the COVID jabs over the national immunization program, but she needed to ask to president of the Federal Deputy Chambers for submit the plenary for this votation, but this is never going to happen. That's why I changed the strategy, and we got to pull that from the bottom to the up. Just like in the beginning of pandemic, we had that law for lockdowns, social distance, masks, and everything. It's from federal level. So what we did, we start to, confront, fight on the cities, states. I provide tens of public hearings against the passport of vaccine and mask for kids on the schools, and we won. What we need to do is keep fighting here in Brazil. We can't, keep our mouth shut and just keep in silence and just accept this. Anna knows me, I'm samurai. I went to Japan for to stop the campaign from Japanese government with EU replicon mRNA over the population. We are successful, just like in Geneva when I met, Anna, we stopped, the signature of pandemic treatment for over 140 countries, right, Anna? So we went to Geneva. So I just, got to ask, for entire world for support, my fight here, and I really believe it is pressure from, the entire world over the Brazil can help. Yeah,
So
that's it.
Anna, you wrote a bit of a summary for us on what's going on over there. Tell us about the fines the parents are having imposed on them, and compare that to the average income in Brazil.
Yeah,
About
so what I was told through John and also from the testimonies that I've listened to that have been sent out from Brazil is they're getting fined $200 a day, which is in the Brazilian currency is actually 20 times the average income of a little family in Brazil. So and that is each day. It's for every day that you don't vaccinate your child, you get fined $200, which is thousands of dollars in the Brazilian currency. So it's massive for these families. They're financially crippling these families, as well as raiding their homes and throwing the mothers down and hitting them to take the children. So it's pretty tyrannical from what I can hear.
And for nothing, because the children aren't at risk.
No.
that's one other point. Many mothers and parents, they got medical certificate, saying the kids cannot having COVID jabs because they got some harms, injuries, they are sick. But the public ministry just refused this medical certificate. Oh, I don't believe in this. So you gotta vaccinate your kids, otherwise we're gonna cover more, double the charge, or open swing you for trying to separate you from your kids. They don't accept a medical certificate. Can you believe that?
Yep.
So the judiciary, the judge, they are more, they understand more about health than the doctors.
John,
great.
Brazil's got a very large population. It's obviously
Yeah,
got a lot of economic inequity. You've got a base of Catholics in Brazil of 50%, maybe higher. Where is the Pope?
yeah.
Where is the Pope in all this? Where's the church?
All the church here, I got a lot of videos, they supporting the 2030 agenda. That's the problem. In my opinion, all the religions, are contaminated from, the owners of the world. This is a plan they created over 40 years ago, and all the priests, here in Brazil, since the beginning of kids vaccination, they are, saying to all the followers for vaccinate the kids. I got tens of videos, even Catholic, evangelical, Protestant, any religion, they are, pushing this over the kids and asking on the, for example, event, the church, oh, how many parents here vaccinated the kids? Oh, please, oh, you got vaccinated your kids. It's very important. I had 3 doses, 4 doses, etc. There is no religion in Brazil against this. They are all contaminated, and here in Brazil, unfortunately, the main church in São Paulo, they are totally socialist. Unfortunately, they made a campaign for Lula. They made campaign. The priests did campaign for Lula. That's the problem in Brazil. Yeah, we are. The kids are here are under attack, psychology, biological, spiritual. From all sides, they are under attack.
How many
Yeah.
people are annoyed about this in Brazil? Are there lots of people protesting?
I guess in percentage, I can kick, right? It's not precisely, number. I guess 60% is Catholic, evangelic is 20, protesting about 5 to 10, but they all Christian, right? They're all Christian. We got a Christian population, but they don't care about it. They looks like the hypnos, in all the church, the priests, and if any priest try to say anything against the COVID jab, they just remove from the church.
But John,
Yeah.
are there many people in Brazil? Are they rallying? Are they protesting in the streets?
No, no. Lula, our judiciary, what's happened in 8th of January. Soon Lula gets the power. They went to National Congress. They make protests over there, but there's a lot of infiltrate, and they broke a lot of doors and offices, etc. They just arrest over 2,000 activists. That is, still a grandmother with 70 years old. She got, she gonna be arrested 30 years, I guess, 20 years. I don't know precisely. So this made all, our people be scared to go to the streets. They just go to the streets when Bolsonaro or other politics invite, and this is very punctual. But, last year I went to the street 10 times. I don't care. I give my life for our kids. I cannot stay, be scared and don't fight and just watch this happen. So I start to climb the favelas. Favelas, the poor communities here in Brazil, just like in Brazil. So I start to join the leaderships from social program, humanitarian program. I just went to commercial center in the small cities around the São Paulo. Yes, I went 4 times on the biggest avenue in São Paulo City, but it's only me and 30, 40, mothers and grandmothers and grandparents. So that's it. Everyone here is scared, but not me. I'm samurai. That's it. That's why.
Wow.
John, what's happening?
I have no support.
What's
Yeah,
happening
sorry.
in Brazil with the vaccine injuries? Obviously, with such an intense program, are you aware of them? Are you hearing things in villages about kids dying?
Yes, every day. Just like I said at the beginning of the interview, I receive every day mothers just send message on WhatsApp or Instagram and say, "Hey, Samurai, I just lost my son with 11 years old, 9 years old, 13 years old. He had nothing, and they just start to feel very bad. They went to the hospital. They gave a couple of pills, and he come back to home and just die, sleep and die." And nobody wants to talk about, people with side effects over here. And we had a program here for, on internet. They are just show, the people was dying, but they just stop it because everyone here in Brazil is scared to fight. They just really believe any day the Supreme Court or any judge can send the federal police in your home and arrest you. So I don't care about. They can arrest me. They can kill me. Actually, they called to my parents, still calling to my parents' house over 2 years and saying if I don't stop, they're gonna kill them and kill me, etc. But I don't care about this. I'm not scared about all of them. They should be scared about me. No one knows me. I'm a badass. So I gotta keep fighting. But I really, really believe we're gonna win this in the end. In the end, what we got to do is keep the flame on. Don't give up because we got a lot of news around the world. From Zuckerberg, Tedros, and Joe Biden, and many things is happening around the world. We got this document from U.S. Congress with over 500 pages, right? They just saying, the lockdown is a fraud, everything is a fraud, etc. So let's start to let's keep fighting.
How do you feel about Donald Trump?
the conservatories, they all support Donald Trump. But in my opinion, just like I said in the beginning of this interview, the 2030 agenda is for only one government. The system provides two sides. This happened, in the history of humanity. And they control the both sides. They always create the bad guys and the good guys, the white pieces and the black piece. They make the rotation, in the government. But in the end, in our back, behind the scenes, they are, creating laws, digital ID, digital coin, and a lot of triggers from 2030 agenda is happening. Even Elon Musk or others, this is my opinion, particular opinion, I don't believe in politics. I don't believe in people with, from New Order. I really just believe there is only two sides, them and us, the people.
Good and evil.
Yes, the lights and darkness. And this is we are living the most strong attack from the darkness over the lights, over the kids. In our job, mine, your, and etc. We are soldiers on the lights, right? That's why we're here. And I live in the worst country in the world, about the darkness, the corruption, the kids attack, etc. But God sent the best soldiers also. That's why Ana is supporting. That's why you are just supporting our fight here in Brazil.
And what other light? Sorry, John, go.
I was just going to ask him, Hoodie, John, how do they, at the moment, I mean, where technology might not be available in some of these villages, etc. I mean, how are the authorities identifying those children that aren't vaccinated and imposing those sanctions on the families, the fines, etc.?
Good question.
Yeah, good point. Because when in the end of the year they got search for a school for making put the kids on next year, then they ask for vaccine card for all the parents, and if there is no COVID vaccine on the cards, they ask for go to the hospital for vaccinate their kids. If they go to the hospital, we got about 30 vaccine for our kids and the teenagers, I guess under 16 years old, there is 30 vaccine, right? So, but some parents just give about 10, 15, 20, and the hospital just starts to cover, oh, you got to complete your card. There is no vaccine for polio or yellow fever or others, and also COVID vaccine, right? So if they don't vaccinate the kids, oh, we're gonna send your name to the public ministry. The hospitals, the nurses, they are sending the names of the parents for the public ministry. Then the justice officer send a message to the parents for asking, you got to vaccinate your kids, otherwise I'm gonna charge you. You got 2 weeks, 1 week, 10 days, just like this. That's how they found, they know the status of vaccinating for the kids, the school and also the hospital.
Are there many doctors who are speaking out?
We got a doctor, association here in the beginning of pandemic. They start to prescribe and made programs with ivermectin, the medicines. I guess it's over 15,000 doctors. I invite many doctors for participating in the beginning of pandemic when they try to, create the vaccine passport for participating in our public hearing. But after Lula gets the power, all of them just stopped to fight. They are scared to be arrested. They scared to lose their certificate, and they just keep it on the social media only. And I begged for over a year for all the doctors. Hey, I'm going to the street. Please come with me. Come with the mothers. Please, I'm begging. I'm begging, begging. They never answer my requests. So it's very complicated, Brazil. I'm here desperate. That's why. Because I have no support from the doctors. Oh, wait, I have no support from the politics. We just got one, two, or three politics, but we got thousands of politics in Brazil. The journalists also. That's very impressive. The journalists stopped to talk about. I'm talking about the conservative journalists, right? They just talk about Trump, Elon, Israel, other things, leftists, right, conservative leftists, right, left. So, but they never made one single interview with me. Even I travel around the world, went to Japan, Geneva, events from World Council for Health, with the top doctors in the world. They never spread nothing about what I have been doing. Nothing. I'm totally cancelled, isolate from all of them who should fight for our kids. I just got to you guys. The kids just got to you guys, and other, freedom fighters and doctors around the world. Yeah, that's all we got.
What can people in Australia and New Zealand do to support Brazil, to support your cause?
You know, things like what are we doing here? Spread what's going on here in Brazil. Make pressure because if you, for example, this interview, got a lot of views and people comments, thousands, million views, etc. So people in Brazil going to start to repost this interview. Hey, look, Samurai did interview for Australian people, New Zealand people, and there is thousands of Australians saying this is absurd, etc., etc. So I did interview for Canada 2 days ago, today for Japan. Tomorrow I got interview for Calais ATV from Germany. That's why I'm asking for support. That's all I can do now, because nobody gonna do nothing here in Brazil. They all scared to fight. So the international pressure is gonna give it to us a spoiler, a good spoiler. People are gonna say, "Hey, the entire world are asking about this, mandate for babies and kids. We saw a news in some country, other country. So we've got 10 countries making, pressure over Brazil. It's going to start to people are going to start to listen and watch. This is absurd.
Well, I guess one thing we can do is approach our Brazilian consulates and embassies around the world and voice our
Yes.
concern. I think we have to let the Brazilian government know that this is being noticed around the world. I mean, Anna, we've seen three particular countries in Australia, New Zealand, and Canada who would have been considered if the world went to hell in a handbasket, everyone would want to live in Canada, New Zealand, or Australia, right? Not anymore. Not anymore, because we are, almost we're fringing on the draconian measures of the Brazilian government. There's no doubt about that. An Australian mother, Kiana Probert,
I I,
has had
I
her.
love your idea. Love it.
She was taken away because she dared to ask a doctor for a second opinion. We've lost our right to a second opinion. We've lost our right to voluntary informed consent. We've lost our right to bodily autonomy. There is no doctor-patient relationship anymore. That's been taken over by the governments. The governments
Yeah.
are too involved in our lives, and it must stop. And so I think consular, I think approaches to the consular groups around the world of the Brazilian government. If you feel impressed to support these kids in Brazil, and that's what we're talking about, and their parents are fighting like crazy and losing the fight, we need to write to the Brazilian embassies, go to the consulate, send an email, do something, but at least let them know that we know what's going on over there and we're not happy.
Yeah, so what is
I
also
love this idea.
Yeah.
Just let me say, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I love this idea. If it's some doctor association from Australia, New Zealand, send any notification for, Brazilian embassy. We are protesting against this. We are not agree with this. What are you doing with your kids, etc.? This is gonna, be awesome. Sorry to interrupt you,
No,
Anna.
that's totally fine. Just what I wanted to say though is that in regards to that is John is hosting these public hearings with the Brazilian state governments. So he's doing 2 of them this week, and they will be recorded. There's the likes of Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Jessica Rose, Dr. Pierre Corey, who will be speaking alongside Dr. Melissa McCann, the wonderful Australian doctor.
Yeah.
We've got Adrian McRae from Australia, who's been in part of the DNA contamination exposure. So there's a lot of people who will be speaking and presenting evidence at these public hearings. And what you could do is, if you watch these hearings, they're online, and then send them to the Brazilian consulate in your country to be able to say, this is what is being said, this is what is being exposed by some of the top scientists in the world and medical professionals in the world. And you need to be able to listen, because the voters will learn about this in the future, and voters will remember, and they will vote with their conscience, especially if irreparable harm has been done to those voters. They will change their minds and vote for somebody else. So it's not only the future of the children, but it could be potentially impacting the future of these government officials. So there are ways to be able to present it to people that are constructive and also authoritative at the same time. And those public hearings will be very, very useful in doing that.
So when's that happening, Anna?
So that in Australian and New Zealand time is happening on the 12th and the 14th of February. So this week. And it will start at approximately 6 a.m. in Australia and approximately 8 a.m. depending on the time zones in New Zealand. Yeah, and there's going to be a huge range of speakers, and they're so incredible of what they present.
Well, that sounds great. So we need to get the links to that and get everyone on the program to watch that.
Yeah.
And forward those links onto the Brazilian embassy.
No, thank you.
Now, look, you know what, Australia, we've been in this fight for nearly 5 years now, and we're doing a lot to try and reverse some of the draconian things that have happened in this country. But when it comes to kids, the innocence, it doesn't matter whether you're Australian, a Kiwi, you're Nigerian, or whether you're Brazilian. We all have to fight for our kids, because that's what this is all about. And if we don't do that, we cannot look at ourselves in the mirror. So we will post the links to that, Anna. If you can get those to us, we'll post them. We'll get people watching. Now, you guys are really good at writing letters and filling in petitions. It's time that we thought outside our own borders and tried to help those people in need. There's a whole lot of stuff going on around the world where innocents are being sacrificed to suit some kind of agenda. So, any final comments, Johnny Lada?
Well, look, I think, Hoodie, we have to make it everyone's mission that this gets shared. If you watch it, share it. We should have 500,000 shares on this. Get it all over the world. I mean, this is it's so horrific on so many stages. It just tells you what this WHO is doing. They are nothing but a communist outfit that needs to be pulled the plug on. They're an absolute disgrace. The churches, I've got to say, you know better. Send their stuff to the Vatican as well. I mean, to think that this is going on in Brazil, where you've got 50% Catholics, is beyond belief. That church leaders, bishops and the like, are standing idly beside all this and saying, "Oh, well, Jesus would be vaccinated if he was here." I mean, you people are got to be joking. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace to religion, and you don't deserve a place, in that high position of respect, because you're not showing any compassion or leadership or demonstrating any sense of religious beliefs that I can see. You're just flushing kids down the toilet and committing them to an early grave, and you're an absolute disgrace.
Look, I have to even take that a step further. I think that the religious leaders of the corporate denominations of this world are an affront to God. I think God is not very happy. God will not be happy about this at all. The God I love is not interested in seeing kids suffer like this. He's about protecting the kids. In fact, the Bible states clearly, in Jesus' words, it'd be better to be thrown in a river with a millstone around your neck than to hurt any of these little children. So this is a big thing for me. The separation of church and state is paramount in healthy democracy. And that has been trampled on because the church and the state are marching in lockstep. All the denominations are doing it, every single one of them. And that's why the people are going to turn away from corporate churches in droves, and they're just going to go straight to Jesus, which is where we need to go. It's reprehensible. I'm glad you raised it, John, because the corporate religions of this world have had the ability in the past to alter the course of history. Instead, they've just marched in lockstep with it and brought it about. And so there's a lot more to be said about that. Anna, are you feeling like you're winning in New Zealand?
That's a great question. It sometimes feels like 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back, but then other days it's 10 steps forward. So it's a mixture, as I said at the beginning, it's a mixture of emotions. But I feel personally that each and every single day we are making slow and steady progress to be able to bring an end to what is happening. And there are some really incredible members of parliament who are also listening and wanting to create change. But what that change involves is every single person from the ground up being able to use their voice and participate in the process. So if we can get the people being able to stand up, rise up and saying, no, this is not okay, then we will win, and very, very quickly. I think what we underestimate is the power of our own voice that eventually gets this collective roar rising up through the nation. So we need to be able to bring that. There's a gene technology bill that's actually going through Parliament now, which opens up our entire country to genetically modified medicines and food and all sorts. That's absolutely atrocious. And we need people to be able to send in their feedback. So there's a whole lot of things that people can participate in, and then we will win. I have no doubt. I have no doubt that we will overcome this.
What could possibly go wrong with that bill going through? What could possibly go wrong?
Unbelievable.
Oh man, it just seems like everything's ramping up, and we've got a whole lot of different battlefronts that we're fighting at the moment. They're all around health.
Yeah.
We don't have a health system in the world anywhere. We have a disease management, a disease control system. That's what we have. And it takes brave troopers like Samurai John and people like of that ilk to stand up and be a voice. Because if you're sitting on the fence, one thing happens when you sit on the fence, you get a splinter up your ass. And it's not very pleasant. I don't remember having one there, I must say, but I can't imagine it would be a very pleasant thing. And evil thrives when people of goodwill do nothing. So do something. This is happening on your watch. Your period of history will be remembered for what happens over these issues. And who will remember? The kids who are still alive, if there are any. So, look, I just think, Johnny Cage, we will support this as best we can. We'll share this around. We ask
Thank you.
others to do the same thing. I think before we close off, I'll just do a prayer, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you, Australia. Thank you.
Lord Father in heaven, we know that you seek the best for the little children, Father God, and there are so many innocent children dying around the world, in Palestine, in Ukraine, in Brazil, even in our own countries, Lord, and they're hidden from sight. And we know that you're watching over this thing. We know that you are still in control. So empower us, develop our character and strength that we may stand for the children, because if we don't stand for the children, we have no moral authority anywhere. So please, Father, guide and lead us, and be with Samurai Johnny Cage over in Brazil and those Brazilian kids, Father God. If he has a win for them, we have a win for the world. May God bless him and Anna McLaughlin and all of us who go forward in this battle. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, John. We want to get an update from you again a bit later on. If there's any progress, please let us know.
Okay.
Anna McLaughlin, same. Please get us the links.
Yeah.
ASAP.
I will.
We'll get those up, and we'll get our people to look at email addresses for Brazilian consulates around Australia and get people working on this. You know, we've got it happening in our own country, folks, up in Cairns and other places that we haven't even heard of. You know, the government, Johnny, raves on about the stolen generation. It's still going on. It's still going on. But anyway, Johnny, you've often been heard to say
You just couldn't make this stuff up.
you couldn't make this stuff up. Anna, lovely to have you. Johnny, thank you so much. And don't forget,
Thank you.
everyone, what you did yesterday got you to today. If you want to make a difference, share this around. God bless you. And this is a great country because you live in it. Let's live up to that reputation. See you later, and we'll see you on Club Grubbery for another
God
interview.
bless you.
God bless you,
Okay,
John.
God bless you. Thank you very much. God bless you, Anna. Thank you very much. Thank you.